What's up, everybody? PG Braun here, president of Blackstone Labs, and I have my good friend Jen Strobo with me today. And I actually am going to let her do most of the talking because originally we were going to shoot a video on Glycolog, but that'll kind of be like the byproduct of the video. I think that there is a lot of confusion on who can use Glycolog, who shouldn't use Glycolog, but really specifically from diabetes and type 1 versus type 2 diabetes. Now, I am not a medical doctor, neither is Jen, but Jen is a type 1 diabetic, so she's been living with this her whole life. So I thought nobody better to explain all this stuff than Jen, so you have the floor now, it's all you.
Well, I'm sure there's somebody better, but I'll do my best. I am a type 1 diabetic, like he said. There is a difference. Obviously, most of you know there's type 1 and type 2. You hear this all the time. Type 1 diabetics is very different than type 2. We are most likely born with it or late onset as an adult, but this is where your pancreas produces no insulin. So when your body eats carbohydrates or when you're eating any food, you produce a little insulin to help process the glucose from that food, but we don't have any of that. So you see us, giving ourselves little shots of insulin and utilizing that or other medications that our doctors have put us on. Type 2 is very, very different. 90% of type 2 diabetics, it's brought on by improper nutrition, heavy weight gain, you're being inactive, it's because your insulin is not processing correctly. So that glucose is left just swimming around in your blood, or that your pancreas isn't producing enough insulin to help out with what you're eating, probably because you're eating too much. Your portion control is not, proper. There are some type 2s that are genetic, where your pancreas just isn't working properly, and you might need a little medication to help you out with that. But there's type 2 diabetics, you can help yourself a lot. Just get your portion control right, make sure that you are exercising and staying active, get your waist circumference down to the proper circumference that's gonna show that your nutrition is right on point, and you can really help yourself out with that. As a type 1 diabetic, though, we were talking a little bit about Glycolog. I utilize Glycolog a lot to help me out so I don't have to use so much insulin. It's a really great product. You want to tell a little bit about Glycolog?
Well, we, in the first video that I ever brought Jen in, I thought it was super interesting that before she was using Glycolog, I believe you said that you're using about 20 units of insulin a day. Mm-hmm. And I know that as far as people out there who type 1, versus type 2, most type 1 diabetics, I think that don't they encourage you guys young that you need to be in on top of your diet and physical fitness?
Yeah, because insulin over time can be detrimental to your body, but you also have a lot of other side effects with diabetes because your sugars are going up and down, and you could have, neuropathy or, mess with your eyes, just a ton of different things, but it could also over time increase your weight. So if you're not on top of it all the time, then you can do that.
Was there a point where you were using more insulin than any other time?
There was a time, I think it was just in my younger years, whenever I was not always eating as proper, or when I was a young mom and not really paying attention to it as much as I had been previously and that I do now.
And so you were averaging, before you started using Glycolog, how much insulin a day?
Probably 20 units.
And
it depended on my nutrition that day.
How long have you been using Glycolog for now?
I can't even remember how many
years. It's been years, yeah. We've known each other for
since it was first ever put out. I mean, how many years? 5?
At least 4 years, yeah.
4 years, yeah. It's been a long time, and I absolutely swear by it because I probably take about 5 to 6 units of insulin a day.
Wow, that's amazing. Did you ever talk about it? I know how meticulous you are with everything, so I'm kind of setting this up for the video, but did you ever talk about it with your doctor in the beginning and say, hey, I'm taking the supplement now. Here's my thoughts on it. This is what I've been doing with my insulin, just to see what the doctor would say?
Well, I did after I kind of tested it out. I'm really good about checking my glucose, checking my sugars to see where it's at and what I'm eating and knowing what I'm taking in, that where it could possibly go. And so I thought I would try it out. And so then I brought it to him. My doctor and I have a great rapport because he knows that I am way on top of it. I go to the endocrinologist and I don't fit the mold that's sitting around in there because I am physically fit and active and I take care of myself. And a lot of people just look and go, how could you be diabetic?
Yeah.
But it's because proper nutrition, really helps you out and to live a great, healthy life. So I did bring it to him, and he loved all the ingredients in it because there are a lot of natural ways out there that you can help your diabetes, especially as a type 2, control it, almost reverse the effects of it. ALA and chromium, those are great. You can get it through foods and everything, but it's also inside of this. So that's a really great item that you can do.
Yeah, and I think that we keep talking about the importance of nutrition. For somebody that is as meticulous as Jen, she's obviously mastered her nutrition over the years, but I've talked to her a lot about different things that she's done over the years, adjusting, and how she uses the Glycolog with her lifestyle now. So, you use it almost in a little bit unorthodox way, but it's a way that works really good for you. So do you want to explain how you use it now?
Yeah, I do, because if I'm taking in a smaller carb meal, I won't take the full dose of it's three capsules. I had to think of what they're called. But so I'll just maybe take one and check my sugar, a half hour to an hour later, and just see where I'm at. And if I'm gonna have a high carb meal like I did last night, I made sure that I took the full dose. And every now and then for myself, just because I've made sure that it's okay and my body handles it, I'll take a secondary dose if it's way too high, an hour later after eating all of that, just to kind of help bring it down. It's really crazy to me how much this brings it down just naturally through the items that are in it, instead of me having to take all those little natural things or to inject insulin for myself, or as a type 2 maybe taking their medication. Don't change your medications unless you ask your doctor, but it's really interesting to me, and I get excited about it. I think I've sent you some pictures of my monitor, my meter, and been like, wow, when I took my Glycolog and I haven't already eaten yet and my sugar's already dropping down because it works so good. And it's not just about bringing my sugar down, it's shuttling what I'm eating into the muscle so that I can, stay physically fit and stay active and stay in the gym and lift hard. So.
Yeah, and when I first had the idea about this product, years ago when the Guerrilla Chemist and I were tossing around ideas of what would be really popular, I said there has become such a craze over uses of insulin and metformin and all of these different insulin-based products for bodybuilding. And he was asking me my opinion why, and we had this big discussion. I said, if somebody could come out with something natural that sort of mimicked what people were trying to get out of that, controlling your blood sugar, shuttling the nutrients into the muscles that way, it would be a major hit. And once we developed this product, I have not stopped using this since we put it out. And I say this over and over again. If I were only going to use one product from Blackstone Labs for the rest of my life, it would be Glycolog. And that is whether I'm working out or not. And this year's been a rough year for me.
That would have to be, I can't live without it. I could, but I literally wouldn't go without it.
Plus, once you guys, and this is for everyone, not just anyone with diabetes, once you understand how to control your blood sugar and how much better you feel when you're not having crazy ups and downs all the time, you'll want to use a product like this because your just overall well-being will be that much better. A lot of people don't realize, they feel tired, so that, they're drinking more coffee and whatnot. And a lot of it is just because they're crashing their blood sugar, and it's just from not eating the right way. So by learning to of course, eat the right way, but then have a product like this that can control it, you really change the quality of your life. And that, for me, I don't train anywhere near like I used to. I wish that I could, but I want to feel good. I want to be able to handle the foods that I'm eating the right way. And I still would like to look good, and that's why I will not stop taking ever Glycolog. It's just I took Glycolog through my entire quarantine when I wasn't working out the whole time, and I honestly think that part of the reason why I stayed in really good shape was from utilizing the Glycolog.
So I think it's definitely different through the quarantine because you're not able to work out as hard as you were to process the food that you're eating. So taking the Glycolog really helped you out.
Yeah, and I didn't want this to be like a, hey, everybody take Glycolog. Although I really do think everyone benefits from taking Glycolog. And people ask me all the time, should I take this? Should I take this? There's a lot of our products that you definitely don't need to take. Many people don't need to take strong fat burners or strong pre-workouts, pro hormones, things like that. But for the most part, just about everybody can benefit from this product. And I really wanted you guys to hear it from Jen specifically, who's been living this her whole life. And when you find out when you're at 8 years old, because you're not feeling right, that you have diabetes, you have a whole life ahead of you of figuring things out. But obviously, by how amazing she looks and how fit she is, she's figured a lot out. But she's still experimenting and learning, stuff along the way.
I try new stuff out, but I'm very careful about it. I don't recommend that you just take this so you can eat tons and tons of food, because you're still not going to feel great. Because your body's not going to do what it needs to do. Like I said, portion control is huge, and just knowing what your body can handle. But, try it out, check it out, and see how you feel. But he's right, drinking all that coffee and all that ups and downs, your overall well-being is just so much better just watching what you eat, eating correctly, and then utilizing, the Glycolog to help you feel even better.
There you go. That's my partner in the coaching these days. The all-star team, I like to call us. We have very similar approaches to what we do, and I have the highest respect for Jen, which is why I wanted her to lead this video. And I think you guys get tired of listening to me talk all the time anyway, but I'm very proud to be able to learn about more diabetes education from Jen, and I hope that you guys take a lot from this. Show it to your grandparents, show it to your parents, show it to anybody that's curious, and let us know if you have any questions.